Right now, if you saw the unit, you could never tell that it would ever have been that bad because they're all gorgeous now. But it was so full with trash. They had one pile of cat feces was over 5 pounds. It was a snow shovel that they took out.
Oh, really?
So I'm buying a lot of ALFs right now and I'm converting them.
Okay. What's the reason that they're coming online? Was there legislation change or something?
So COVID, one, in 2018, the hot trend, if you remember, there was ALFs.
Oh, yeah.
ALFs were the money, everything's going to ALF.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people that were not in the game or didn't really know how to manage ALFs properly, bought too high because it was the hot thing, overpaid, and found out it was not as profitable if you don't have your operation. So real estate, rentals, Airbnbs, you can make a lot of money if you operate it properly. So if you don't, you'll lose a lot of money.
Yeah.
So the ALF business, they were not prepared. They just thought it would self-run, self-manage, and it didn't work. So a lot of ALFs, one, there's a ton of competition, which decreased profitability. And then from there, issues would happen and they didn't have the money to cover it. So they were constantly putting more and more money into the ALF businesses. And then COVID hit and you are not allowed to add any people. So in the ALF world, they're called beds. You're not allowed to add any new beds or add any people to the beds. So imagine people are leaving because they're gonna go move back in with their kids or, unfortunately pass away because of COVID. Most of the deaths of COVID were elderly and unhealthy individuals. So a lot of people in ALFs are elderly and kind of unhealthy. So they were passing away and you're not allowed to add anybody new. And the second that there is a COVID case in an ALF, they shut everything down. So imagine going through maybe a year and a half, 2 years of that, they are not, in the margins were very thin. I think you would have to have like a 70-75% occupancy rate to make money.
Yeah.
So now you're running at under 70 rate and you paid a premium price for it. So a lot of people were going under. And some of them, I target ones that go up for sale that are in great markets, the same type of markets I like to invest in, downtown markets and so on. This one here, after the father passed away, the children kept it for 15 years. And they just were planning to do stuff with the property and they never did. They just were slow, and what ends up killing a business is slow. You have to be fast to keep the business running. So they kept doing it slow. Finally, they just said, we're done. So in 2019, I ended up buying it from them for like $975,000, the whole complex. And first minute went on the market, called them, I'm gonna take it, and got it under contract. There was like a ton of people from like Europe and Canada and Chicago and California wanting to buy it, but I act quickly. And I don't have to ask questions from a board. I make my decision, I'm gonna buy it, done. What do you want? I'll give it to you. So there's not a lot of, the back and forth is very fast, so we can move along, right?
Was it on the MLS or
yes.
LoopNet or what?
MLS, I think it was MLS,
okay.
Yeah.
Wow, and the valuation, how do you evaluate something that, like a business that's not operating effectively? Are they just looking at the real estate at that point itself?
Well,
not the ALF business?
So again, when you say they, there's a lot of theys involved, so it depends who is they.
Well, operator, broker, I guess.
So they probably valued it at dirt because this is enough for 4 houses and dirt here is about $250,000 per lot.
Okay.
So I bought it for dirt value. And then I had these buildings and I was like, yeah, no brainer. I'm gonna buy dirt, remodel all the concrete block buildings that have terrazzo inside and just make them and rent them.
Nice.
And the guy who built it originally in 1970 was an engineer. So he actually did a really good job with structurally setting things up. So it was really good bones. And then I just turned them all around and put in all new insulation, drywall, electrical, plumbing, AC, like everything top notch, and to match my coastal cottage vibe.
Nice.
So it was considered the base motel before I bought it. And we have some videos of some pretty cringy units.
Gotta see them now.
Yeah, we walked into a unit and literally there was only enough space for you like to walk through, and it was just trash. And right now, if you saw the unit, you could never tell that it would ever have been that bad because they're all gorgeous now.
Yeah.
But it was so full with trash. They had one pile of cat feces was over 5 pounds. It was a snow shovel that they took out.
Wow.
I put insulation between the units so there's less noise within the units.
Yeah.
I put insulation on the property to reduce the electric bill. My electric bill for all 16 units was like $1,100.
Really?
Yeah. So again, if you build right, and it doesn't really cost that much more money. But if you do it right in the front end, like my saying is, invest in the front end, save in the back end, make a lot of money. So like another thing, like my water filtration system. My water is triple filtered before the person drinks it. It's double filtered and softened before it touches their skin. So it pulls out mold. And our AC systems have 4-inch MERV 11 AC filters, pulls out mold, mildew, and pollen. So our properties are green, clean, non-VOC paint, low VOC products, so it's really healthy. I have medical patients rent from us that come to see specialty doctors, and they refer them to stay in our property. So not much more money for so much more value.
Oh, yeah.
You know? So
with the water filtration system, is it around here?
Yeah.
We're gonna see that later.
Well, so one of the systems is in here. One part of the system is in here. So there's a saltwater system plus a filtration system inside of this set up here.
Okay.
And this is the hot water heater. We're gonna actually be taking both of these outside and we're gonna be putting in a small washer and dryer in here. So we can have in-unit washer and dryer, yeah.
It can fit in there?
A small one would be very tight, but we pay extra for the small ones.
Yeah.
And you can make it work. And the value for an in-unit washer and dryer is very high. So, we're trying to provide as much value as humanly possible for our guests. Our bathrooms, if you check them out, like the quality of our bathroom, floating vanity.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's tile.
Each tile's $8 a sheet, but I don't like wasting money, but this is just so nice that it definitely hits the vibe. Has this white satin finish to it. All of our shower heads, magnetic with waterfall. Nice. So it definitely is great because the women love it. They grab it, they take a shower, right? It's great for long hair and so on. Like, you don't get those features, but it does not much more money compared. So you can buy a cheap one that's gonna break for probably $50 to $80. Then you can buy a better one for about $120. Well, for $220, you get this in the value of people. There's a price where you get in the sense of a return, where you get your return from renting it out at the highest possible price.
Oh yeah.
There's another value that I consider, which is tenant retention.
Totally, yeah.
So when you provide something that brings them to stay, which is pretty, but then you give them something that's utilitarian, it makes them stay.
Totally,
So you draw them in and then you keep them in. And that's these things that cost more that you cannot put a dollar amount on it in the standard sense. I have found a value in the sense of keeping a client longer. Like hurricane windows. People are like, oh, get hurricane windows, saves you on home insurance.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I own an insurance company. It's like $20 a year, but you spent $15,000 on hurricane windows.
So you still put them in though?
Still put them in.
Not just for the insurance savings, but what does that do for a short-term rental?
From both scenarios, short-term and long-term, it's quiet. If you are louder, people outside don't hear you, so people won't complain.
Yeah.
If people are loud outside, you won't hear them.
Yeah.
And then you have the idea that someone could potentially break in. Well, if you took a hammer to it, you're not breaking through that window.
Yeah.
So you're increased safety.
Okay.
So that value of that feeling of safety is really good. Is a high value for that.